Hi, welcome to Beyond Authentic Witchcraft. My name's Lisa, and for day 4 of Witchmas, I'm going to turn all of this into a rustic but festive banner. If you'd like to see how, stay tuned. For this project, you will need some Hessian fabric, some jute string, some paint brushes. I've got just a cheap little selection here. Some paint. I've got this, which I found in B&M. It says it's ready mixed paint. Not quite sure what paint this is, but I've also got some acrylic. So I'm going to see which is better for what I need. A little palette. Now you can obviously use a jam jar lid, anything at all that just keeps the paint nice and neat. I've got the paintbrush I used in a previous craft there as well. Some all-purpose glue for adding in little bits of ribbon and decorations. You're going to need some ribbon for decorations. Now this is in a nice sort of tealy blue color, so this is going to match in with the ornaments that we've got on our tree and also with the little snowman figure that we made in a previous video. I've got some glitter. I've had it in the craft box for a long time, but I would recommend these days getting hold of some biodegradable glitter. I don't think this is biodegradable, but the biodegradable glitter is much better for the environment. This isn't biodegradable, but it is going on a project that I'm going to be reusing hopefully year after year. And obviously you need some scissors. Now then, the very first thing you're going to want to do is to work out how many letters are going to be in your banner. Now for me, I'm having mine say Merry Witchmas or Happy Witchmas. So I know that that is 13 letters. But I also know that before and after each of the words, so before happy and between happy and Witchmas and after Witchmas, I want 3 separate pieces with a design on of some description. So in total, I need 16 pieces. Now, I do have quite a lot of fabric here. Again, this just came from Amazon because my local fabric shop was shut when I went to go and get some. So I had to pick this up instead. Now, as you can see, this is lined across all around the edges, so I'm going to keep this bit here as the top because it will stop it from fraying at the top, but at the bottom I quite like it being a little bit frayed. It will give it that rustic feel. So I need 16 equal size pieces for my banner. Again, if your banner says something other than Merry Christmas or Merry Witchmas, you might want yours to say Blessed Be. You might want yours to say, you know, Have a Cool Yule or Happy Solstice or whatever it is. Just make sure you've got enough per letter. So the width of my fabric is absolutely ideal because I was thinking I want each piece, each separate letter piece, to be about this size. Now if I work this out, I've got that bit there and that bit there. It's almost perfect. So I'm going to use this as my template. So you could use your permanent marker to draw your outlines. I think I'm just going to use a biro because it's a little bit easier, but I'm going to use this piece of card as my ruler, if you like, to draw that template. Is that showing up? Oh, it kind of is, kind of. And then I'm just going to take that line. So luckily for the first piece, it's quite simple. And then take that all the way up there. So that would be the first 2 letters. So you just keep going along with your pattern. Once you've drawn out sufficient lines, you want to go ahead and cut each one of these out. So I've now got 8 pieces. I've discarded the piece that had the stitching down the side. So I've got 8 pieces this size. And now I'm just going to go ahead and very basically cut them in half. You can see some of them just where they've been folded are a little bit raised up, but that's not going to be a problem because they will flatten out as we go through the course of making the banner. And once again, I'm quite thankful for my little crafting tray, just because it keeps all the little end pieces and all the little fluffy bits kind of into one place. So again, it's handy. This is just an old tray that I found in a thrift shop, in a charity shop, and I thought, oh, that's perfect. Not only is it perfect for the size on camera for what I'm doing, but also it's perfect to hold most of the crafting items for anything that I'm doing, because I can be a little bit clumsy and I might get paint everywhere. So it's easier if I've got it all contained in one space. And trust me, Rufus much prefers that I keep all of my various projects contained rather than having them slowly end up kind of scattered all around the house with all the odds and sods and bits and pieces and fluff and, you know, all the little bits and cut off bits. Now you might be thinking, but Lisa, what about all these strands? Aren't they going to fray? And the answer is yes, a little bit, and that's absolutely fine, just a little bit, because it helps add that nice sort of rustic feel when there's a few strands on the ends. Now if you want to go ahead and stop things fraying too much, when you're at a certain point, like maybe about there, so you've got a few little nice sort of shaped bits either side and a little bit of fraying on the edge, you can use some of your glue. Now this is where I would use the Elmer's glue or PVA glue, and basically just go along each one of the little banner pieces and just add a little bit of glue just to stop those bits fraying. If you haven't got time to do that on each one, you could just glue each of the corners and that should stop them fraying as well. But to be honest, for this part of the make, I'm okay with it fraying a little bit. I don't mind that. You watch, I'm going to come to regret that when I get this out next year. It's just going to be a tiny little strip and all the frayed bits would have come off. But I don't mind that. It's an organic process. And again, if you're lucky enough to be somebody who gets anything delivered in Hessian sacks, then this is a perfect use for actual, you know, reusing, upcycling old Hessian sacks and bags and things. So yeah, keep an eye out for things like that. If you've got old Hessian shopping bags, anything like that, you can use this. You can reuse the Hessian fabric for this task, this craft. So again, just slightly fraying each piece, just a little bit, just to give it that sort of nice rustic feel. And again, a little tip. When we say rustic, it's basically a way of saying it doesn't have to look perfect. Because if you describe it as a rustic banner, then any of the little flaws where it isn't machine made, that just adds to the character. Okay, then now on to the decoration. Now, if you are particularly talented, you might want to just go straight in with the paints. I am not too bad at doing designs and things, but I think I want to make sure that everything kind of works. So I think I'm going to use my marker pen, my permanent pen first, just to kind of get an idea for the shape. Now, the top of it, we are going to have a little bit of decoration, and some of them I don't think I will actually, but I was planning on maybe pointing the corners, just cutting the corners so it gives you that sort of shape, if you imagine it like that. Now that might look really pretty. I might do that on the end ones, but you know what, I quite like, now that's frayed, I quite like how these look. So I might just keep them in the sort of rectangular shapes. So what I'm going to do is just work out the placement of the letters. Again, because this is a handmade project, you don't have to be too exact that every single piece is exactly aligned with each other. It can be a little bit homemade, a little bit rustic, as I say, but I want to have a rough idea of where my letters start and end. So what I'm going to use is just this wooden block. It's just got a bit of water on the back of it. I'm just going to place that on the top edge so that I don't want my letters to go any higher than this. So I think if that's going to be the case, I'm probably going to want to stop them there as well. So it will just give me that sort of rough size for me to play with, and maybe again, maybe half of that in on each side, just so I can sort of visualize. Again, because it's Hessian, it's quite good. You can imagine kind of a grid there. And I'm just gonna kind of freehand really, but I am going to start with the marker pen just because I know what I'm like. Now, your banner can say anything you want it to say. It could say Happy Solstice, Merry Christmas, Blessed Be, Happy Kwanzaa, Hanukkah Blessings, anything at all that you want this banner to say, you can do. Welcome Home, anything at all. But as this is for me, I think mine's going to say Happy Witchmas. So then I just start drawing to get an idea of the size of the letters. I don't want to go too big. And as I say, using that wooden block is really useful. So that's going to be about the size, quite like that. And then it's going to be a bit blockier. So just do the blocks. And again, I'm kind of working on the idea that the thickness of each letter is about the thickness of that piece of wood, just to give me a rough idea of each piece. So like that, there we go. And then it's a simple case of using that now as a template for sizes and then going along with your letters. And we've got our lovely letters. So the next task is to get the paint. Now I'm going to use the acrylic paint just because I know that acrylic is a little bit thicker. So you want to take off the little doodah, the little safety seal, like so. Put that to one side. I'm going to put the paint into my little palette. Now, because I am using acrylic, I am very mindful of the fact that this has quite a lot of sticky potential, so a lot of gluiness to it. But as you can see, it does go over those black lines really, really nicely. Again, if you didn't want to use white, you could use reds and greens to get that festive look, golds. You could use silver, you know, anything at all that kind of speaks of the festive holiday for you. So again, whatever holiday it is, you might want to change the colours up. Okay, now to leave these to one side to dry. Okay, so while the main letters of the banner are drying, I'm going to use this ribbon to create some little decoration ribbons, if that makes sense. So I'm just going to see what the sort of shape needs to be, and it needs to be maybe, let's take the piece there. So I'm just using this as the template. And again, if we're going to have a lot of ribbons, I don't want to do it on each corner, one in the middle, one in the bottom. We'll see how it goes, but it's going to need to be about that length for each one at minimum. Right, so some of these are a little bit longer than others. That's perfectly fine. I've got 2 extra long ones, so that's not a problem. I will just put those to one side though, just in case. I am going to use the flatter side, the more matte side, down, and then create the first bow like that. And again, I'm just going to use the trusty, oh, can't get the lid off, there we go, the trusty all-purpose glue for this. I'm just going to put a tiny dot just here. Again, if you don't have all-purpose glue, you could use fabric glue, because this is obviously a fabric. You could also use a hot glue gun, maybe that would work for you, but I'm just popping a little bit on there. Now obviously, if you're worried about the glue, I don't really, you can see that on there, but yeah, look at that. If you're worried about the glue, you can always buy pre-made ribbons that are probably going to be better than these ones, certainly, but that's not a problem. I just use a bit of an old rag just to wipe that glue off, and then I'm just placing this loosely on there like so. And I'm going to do several of these. Okay then, now is the time to do the spare pieces. So the pieces that are in between the letters for the banner, the pieces that will break up the words basically. And I think what I'm going to do is with the white paint, I think I'm just going to freehand some sort of snowflake pattern really. I think that's what I'm going to do. That sounds like a good idea in my head. So yeah, let's just give that one a go then. I'm just going to freehand it directly onto the Hessian. Okay, so now I think I'm going to leave the snowflakes to dry. I know, weird. So I'm just going to start very, very loosely decorating some of the letters that I've already done. Now these aren't fully dry yet, so it's a good time just to add a little bit of sparkle. Now I'm not adding a lot of glitter on the nubbly bit, so I'm just going to add a little bit of glue, maybe there, maybe on the top of the letters. That might be quite effective, just like so. And then to stop the glitter going everywhere, I'm going to use a dry clean paintbrush and just pick up a tiny bit on the bristles, so just that amount, and I'm just gonna tap it over like so. And again, it's just to add a little bit of festive sparkles, because who doesn't like a bit of glitter at Christmas or festive holidays? Well, I'll tell you who, my other half. But anyway, that's because he just doesn't like glitter anytime. It goes everywhere and he's not a big fan of it. But there we go, you see, and that just adds a little bit of sparkle onto that. Any excess we just shake off, and then that is going back to dry, and that's what we're going to do with all of the letters. Okay, so it is the next morning and all of these have now dried. I quite like them. I'm a little bit unsure whether I'm going to keep this with the black outline or go over it again in the white. I don't know. I'm going to have a look and see how I feel once they're completed. But I've got to say, I actually quite like them. I like the fact they're homemade, home-strung, rustic looking. I really do. Okay, so now I have to decide where I want to place the ribbons, maybe underneath like that. Yeah, so that's what I'm going to do. So I'm going to glue them with the all-purpose glue, and I'm going to take the larger ones. We'll have start and finish with the larger ones, and I'm just going to put a blob of glue on the back. That's far too much glue. Far too much glue, Lisa. Look at that. Look at those strings of glue. That's not going to look good. And then just place it in the center, just like so. So I think that looks quite cute. So to string the banner, you could use some of the ribbon again. I'm not going to do that. I'm going to go with the jute string because I really like that sort of rustic combination. What you want to do is get something like maybe a biro or a nail file, anything that's got a kind of a bit of a point to it, and you want to jab some holes a little way in, because don't forget this does fray, so a little way in from the outside. So I want a bit of a larger hole just there. So you want to give it about an inch under, create a little space there. So again, and over. So the idea of this is that you'll have 4 holes either side of the center point. So you can see those. There you go, look. And that's how we're going to string them in a minute. So you want to go ahead and do that with each of your banner pieces. I've just taped the end a little bit with some sellotape, and I'm just going to literally thread them together. So I'm going from the back to the front through the holes that I made to the front. There we go, and then to the back. And that's basically how that is going to sit on the jute, on the string, like so. And it's just going to hang like that. But I quite like the fact you've got these 2 little stitch marks. And then we're going to do that with every single one. So to make it easier, you might want to pull quite a bit of the string through to give you a bit of space to work with, because once we get a few letters on there, it could get a bit tricky. Okay, I'm just getting to the end now, and I've decided at the very last minute that I am going to put a knot here. I'm going to hide that with the end like so. So it just places the last piece of the banner, and then I'm going to thread. I'm going to put another knot about 1 inch or so, or a couple of inches maybe, down. Oh, maybe 3 inches, something like that. So like so. And I'm going to thread one of these little jingly jinglies, just because. Just decided right in the last minute that I'm going to add a jingly jingly on each end, just because. Why not? I think that might be cute. There you go. It's not going to make a huge difference, but it just gives us a little bit of jingly jinglies. And I like having bells and things, witch bells, all of that, especially at this time of year. It just helps cleanse the space. So as you can see, I've just put a knot either side. That jingly jingly isn't going anywhere. And then I'm just going to decide how long I want the piece of thread from the last of the banner, and I'm just going to put a knot here like so, and that is to hang it. And just to make sure that that doesn't go anywhere, I'm going to double knot that just to make sure that I've got a nice tight loop, and then to cut off the end. So there we go. That is what the sign looks like. I've just hung it across the curtain pole because it's a lot longer than I thought it was going to be. So it doesn't actually fit where my initial idea was for it. But there you are. That is what the banner looks like. It is very, very rustic, as I say, but I do think it's quite pretty. I think it's quite festive. I like the touches of blue. When we get our tree, which is going up just to the right of it, it will all match in really, really nicely. But there you go. That is the make for today. Thank you ever so much for watching, everybody. And again, if you like this video, please do give it a massive thumbs up, and I will see you again on another one. If you haven't already, hit that subscribe button, ding your bell, and YouTube should let you know each and every time I go live. I'll be back tomorrow for some live tarot streaming, and then there'll be another Witchmas video on Wednesday. I'll see you soon. Bye bye.